Whenever you are. A powerful message about communication became clear to John after catching some would-be burglars in the middle of the night by what he thought was surprise. But they left him for dead instead. It was when he regained consciousness that his dog Jake had stepped on his phone, made a call, and in turn got him help. From life flight back to home, John realized that he was the person that had to do it all, the thinker for everyone. And if he survived that fateful day, it would be a miracle. The title of today's speech from John is, Just Text My Dog, Communication So Even Simple Animals Get It. Please welcome John Buck.
Jake, move your paw. Jake. Morgan, you're going to kill me. Get off me. Jake, move your paw. City and state, please. What? Huh? Jake, move. City and state. Ma'am, can you hear me? Yeah? Where do you need to go, sir? City and state. I said, ma'am, you need to listen to me real carefully. I'm in need of help. I'm pinned under a tire. She goes, well, what do you need, sir? I said, I need help. I said, do you have my phone number? She goes, yeah. I said, do you have my address? She goes, 7632 Wildcat Pike. I said, I'm at that address. Hold, please. Keep the dogs there. Watch them for me, Phil. I'm going to break for a second while I'm on hold. Think the Jeopardy sound, because that's pretty much what was going on in my head. As I realized, this lady didn't know what was going on. I'm sitting here. It's 37 degrees outside. It's the middle of November. I'm highly diabetic. And when I say that, when I got to the hospital, my sugar was at 1352. So if anybody understands that, I should have been dead. Stones have been imprinted in me from where I've been laying on them for now 5 hours. I use this one because it's called pup tread, but I didn't bring the real tire because it's 750 pounds laid on my back where that was for 5 hours. I was knocked out in the middle of the night by these guys that tried breaking into my farm. Finally, she comes off a hold. She goes, sir, I called our local police station. I'm like, oh, great. First thought I have, which is going to be another story, but our sheriff's department can't find a stolen cruiser with the lights on, the sirens on, and donuts on the front seat if it's parked in front of their station. Trust me, I've had run-ins with them before, so that wasn't going to happen. And I'm thinking, you know, in retrospect, I thought back as, you know, I should have just asked for the number for the ambulance service and had her forward me to them because they would have got it. And they've been to my house before. Don't ask, another story there, too. But I realized my dog, when I'm laying there, had stepped on my phone. His claw hit the 411 connect button, which they had it at that time. What I didn't know, which is another side story, but when I said, Morgan, you're going to kill me, that was recorded on a friend of mine's voicemail, an ex-girlfriend at the time. Imagine her surprise when she calls back and didn't get me, and they say, yeah, the ambulance is here, the cops are here, everything else, we don't know what's going on. What bothered me is I'm sitting here talking to this lady, realizing that she stuck me on hold, and all she had to do was reach around the corner and probably smack somebody in the cubicle she was in and say, get me a supervisor, get me help. I was smart enough, though, because I've been through enough emergencies that I realized I had to first identify that she knew who I was. That's why I asked her if she had my number, because I knew if she had my phone number, she had my address, because it was going to come up on her screen. I told her that's where I was, because I didn't know if Jake was going to step on the phone again and cut me off. I didn't know he had made a phone call already and left it on a voicemail where he heard me telling Morgan, you're going to kill me. That was a while to explain, but I didn't know what was going on at that point. I was struggling to be awake and alive at that point in time. The only thing that saved me is I knocked out and it was so cold that it kept me from breathing deep for a long time. What really got interesting, though, is when I'm talking to her on the phone, and I asked her what time it was, because I could see it was daylight. And in November, if it's daylight, it's probably after 7:30, 8 o'clock. I knew I had help 75 feet from me, and they didn't know I was there. She called one of my hired guys, because I just told her his number's one above mine, and she left him a voicemail. It went something like this. John's pinned under a vehicle in the front barn. I had told her I was pinned under a tire and just tell him I'm in the back barn. Because anybody that knows my place knows the back barn. How she associated a vehicle with it, I don't know. Either way, my guys finally got there. About the time an EMT showed up, they grabbed a hold of that tire and they threw it off of him, and they looked at, or threw it off of me, and they both looked at each other. Did you grab it or did you grab it? Adrenaline was there. Go figure. Sheriff shows up. I can see him. I'm still on the ground. I can see his feet. He won't come within 50 feet of me. What's going on here? Crushed by a tire? Oh, it's only 50 pounds. And I just remember, God, Trevor, don't. Because his comment to the sheriff, lay down, we'll show you how heavy it is. I wanted him to, but I couldn't bail him out. The tire that I was under had one side that was rubber and the other side a metal ring that sticks out. Had it came down the other way, it would have cut me in two. A lot of farmers have been killed over the years trying to handle those. I would be standing here and here to do the speech. Would not have been fun. But either way, you know, here I go on this lovely excursion that I can see is just going to be a nightmare. I'm in pain. I don't know if anything's broke. I've been laying there for so long, I can barely move my feet. My toes are cold. My one foot was cocked up in the air for that whole time. I couldn't move this tire off of me because my arms was like I had them pinned under me. The worst problem was this was the third time those guys have been back that day. I thought I warned them in our little communications message in the middle of the afternoon not to come back, but I was wrong. He avoided listening to me. So they get me loaded up and they take me to Marion, to the hospital. Of course, anything and everything's happened to you at the whole time. What I realized was I was the only one that knew everything that was going on and the only one that could put it together. If I lost consciousness or anything else, God only knows what was going to happen because they didn't know I was diabetic. They didn't know how bad it might be. They didn't know how long I'd been there. They didn't know how much weight had been on me. They had a lot of variables they didn't know. A lot of things I didn't want to know, but they didn't know. Get in there, and of course, communication in your companies or in associations, have you ever noticed how sometimes you got to think for everybody? You were up on stage earlier and somebody was thinking for you what to say. It's not what you want, but it is usually what happens. Communication starts breaking down in many directions. It becomes an issue just by the minutest little thing being taken off course. I'm laying there on the gurney, and I hear Life Flight helicopter coming in. They're not telling me much about what's going on. All I remember is the doctor looking at me and saying, and I had my two surrogate mothers, the neighborhood moms, that helped grow us, raise us kids, standing there, and he says, we're going to life flight you to Columbus. We don't know what kind of injuries you might have that we are not prepared to deal with. Back in my mind, I'm sitting here saying, thank God, because everybody else I know that's come in here has come out dead from this hospital. One problem with that comment, it wasn't in the back of my head. It came out my mouth. Doc wasn't too thrilled, but I was just glad I heard the helicopter anyway, so, you know, hey. I realized something on that trip because I'm coherent. I want to look at the crops. I want to do other stuff while I'm in the helicopter, but no, I got this much room to the ceiling, and I got a really beautiful flight nurse looking over me, talking to me like this the whole way, saying, you know, what's going on. But it was interesting watching the handoff from the hospital to the flight crew, to the flight crew handing me off to the trauma center in Columbus. My hat's off to those folks for whatever they know. Because they're getting it on the fly. Communications, fast. I still realize that my dog was probably the only one that really knew what was going on, that I needed help. My other one, Morgan, hadn't left my side, and that was evident by a pile that she left there the next day that we found that she never left me for that whole time. He's always had a problem with putting his foot on, if you're sitting down, he puts his foot on you. He had it on my face. That's when he set it down, my cell phone had come out of my pocket that night when I hit the ground, and he put it right on it. anyways, fast forward, I get to Columbus. I'm in trauma. I have the two nurses. When I'm under stress, I crack jokes. And I had the two nurses laughing so hard, they had to leave their room once because they're like, this is funny. Your dog did this? What? And I'm like, you're doing this kind of test? This is crazy. What the heck? You know, but either way, I got released later that day. Vicodin and morphine are great friends when you need to ride home. Amazing. I was just going to be black and blue. But to conclude, what really got interesting was 2 days later when my minister showed up at my house. He said, John, I got to tell you a story. He said, I came to Marion to find you. They told me they life flighted you to Columbus. He goes, I go to Columbus to the hospital they told me you were at. You weren't there. They told him wrong. Lady there found out where I was at. So she made some phone calls and she says, he's at Grant. He walks into the emergency room at Grant, asks the lady at the desk, and I'm going to be him now. She's sitting here typing. Yeah, I need to see John Buck. He came in here on life flight. Always be careful of your communications message. She types it up. She goes, oh, he's gone. Thank you. Jake and Morgan.